Chairman of Region 10, Sharma Solomon, today said the people of Linden and Region 10 are looking at legal advice and possible legal action if required to bring charges against the police who were responsible for the shooting deaths and injuries of the protesters at Linden. Solomon was speaking at a press briefing at the GPSU headquarters this afternoon. He said he also wrote to the Commissioner of Police, Leroy Brummel, reminding him of the findings of the report and to ensure that the officers involved in the deadly protest is held accountable.
That as a collective, the region will be pursuing legal direction in terms of legal advice and legal actions if that is required. We dispatched a letter to the Commissioner asking, and let me just read the letter, with reference to the subject, the people of Linden Region 10 call on you to execute due diligence in upholding the police force's motto of service and protection, and ensure that officers are held accountable for the 18th of July 2012 incident that resulted in the unjustified deaths of Shamrai Boye, Alan Lewis, and Ron Somerset, and the injuries of persons as listed in the reports of the Linden Commission of Inquiry.
Solomon said from a meeting on Monday with relatives of the deceased and the other victims, it was clear that the compensation was unjust, disrespectful, inadequate, and unrealistic. Solomon said the commitment was made not to support the meager compensation.
Life is priceless, and sums recommended by the Commissioner to the deceased families and injured are woefully inadequate. No vehicle which is subject to depreciation is worth more than the lives of those who suffered by the police brutality. Let us recall that the young man who was tortured was awarded far more compensation. Is it that life is so cheap in Guyana? Whereas justice was served to the extent that it made clear who were responsible for the murders and manslaughter, the compensation is unrealistic, and the I-pass, to use Guyanese parlance, mothers are without sons, children without father, siblings without brothers. Linden are without three courageous citizens who merely stood for their rights. There were words of it was unjust, it was disrespectful, and in short, they would not support going for this meager compensation, which they believe does not justify the actions of the police in any way. So these were some of the sentiments that were expressed at our first meeting on Monday at my office.
Solomon says while he welcomes the general outcome of the Commission of Inquiry, the people of Linden are convinced that the criteria used by the Commission of Inquiry to assess compensation were flawed, and he wants clarification on what the criteria was. Reporting for Capital News, Royston Drakes.